Stephen Colbert interviewed Brad Lander and Zohran Mamdani jointly. Here's a tweet, because we're going to make a little comparison here. When a fascist is close to gaining power, a liberal will go easy on them. When a leftist is close to gaining power, a liberal will do everything they can to stop them. Compare Colbert's first interview with Trump versus his first with Mamdani. That tells you everything you need. All right, so we'll start with the Mamdani interview. The Colbert people are copyright bitches, so it'll be audio only.
Does the state of Israel have the right to exist?
Yes, like all nations, I believe it has a right to exist and a responsibility also to uphold international law.
Okay, well, let's talk about the elephant in the room, is that there are many people in New York, even people who would support your candidacy otherwise, who don't want to support you because of the Jewish community's fear of the true and rising anti-Semitism, not only around the world, but in this country and shamefully in New York, which is the largest Jewish population of any city other than Tel Aviv in the whole world. And they are worried, they're very upset by some of the things that you've said in the past, and they are afraid that your mayorship would actually lead to increased anti-Semitism, that they believe that that would be more dangerous for them. What do you say to those New Yorkers who are afraid that you wouldn't be their mayor, that you wouldn't protect them?
You know, I know.
Okay, now I just want you to imagine if a Jewish Zionist, virulent Zionist, they're the most virulent Zionist you can imagine.
Say Mike Bloomberg, for example.
I mean, say Mike Bloomberg.
Like if he were to run for mayor and become mayor, right?
Can you imagine him being asked, well, what do you say to the Muslim population in New York who feel unsafe about your support for a genocidal apartheid state? All right. The fact
Little Yemen,
Yeah, to frame the question in the way that the things that you've said scare people. This is, we're not among those who throw that term around lightly. It is pure racism. It's pure racism and Islamophobia to sit this guy down and call him onto the carpet to explain himself to Jews in a way that he would never ask a Zionist to explain himself to Muslims. And from my experience being at many of these protests, and anyone could tell you this who's been at these protests, you're much more likely to hear genocidal chants from Zionists than you ever will at a pro-Palestine rally.
Yes, of course.
Where that fear is coming from. It's a fear that is based upon the horrific attacks we've seen in Washington, D.C., in Boulder, Colorado. It's
all the way from Jews will not replace us to today.
And it's a fear that I hear also from New Yorkers themselves. Just a few days after the horrific war crime of October 7th, a friend of mine told me about how he went to his synagogue for Shabbat services, and he heard the door open behind him, and a tremor went up his spine as he turned around, not knowing who was there and what they meant for him. I spoke to a Jewish man in Williamsburg just months ago who told me that the door he left unlocked for decades is now one that he locks. And ultimately, this is because we're seeing a crisis of anti-Semitism. And that's why at the heart of my proposal for a Department of Community Safety is a commitment to increase funding for anti-hate crime programming by 800%. Because to your point, anti-Semitism is not simply something that we should talk about, it's something that we have to tackle. We have to make clear there's no room for it in this city, in this country, in this world.
And no justification for violence of any kind?
No, there is no room for...
What kind of a fucking question is that? Yeah, no. Well, no. Actually, he thinks people should carry hatchets. Yeah, that's what he's running on. Well, what kind of a question is that? No room for So you're saying no room for violence then?
Right. Like he's assuming the guy is for violence. Like to phrase that question in that way is to act as if he has to clarify that he's against violence.
Right.
Like, hey, you really owe it to people to clarify that you're against violence. Has the guy made a violent threat to anybody? Has the guy, given you any reason to believe that he supports violence except the fact that he's a brown guy with a Muslim name who criticizes a genocide? Yeah.
Yeah, that I think may have been the most insane moment in this interview.
Yeah.
So no violence of any kind. What kind of a thing is that to ask?
Yeah, it's insane.
This guy, this very professional, obviously very well educated, articulate, very very warm guy to ask him.
A very conciliatory guy. I mean, just look at that answer.
Yes. Look at that answer. He's going out of his way to frankly bend over backward to play along with the berserk question that you're forcing him to answer. He shouldn't even have to answer, but he's playing along because he's a politician. He's trying to win.
Well, he's showing an instinct. If I could just interject this one thing, he's showing a certain instinct that Bernie never showed when Bernie got close to victory. When Bernie was on the doorstep of victory in the 2020 primary, he went out there and he antagonized the establishment even more. The party establishment's getting very nervous. Tactically, that was a huge mistake. That was the exact opposite of what you wanted to do at that point. As the front runner, your job is to go. If you're an anti-establishment candidate, as the front runner, your job, especially in a forum like this where you have the shit libs of all shit libs watching on TV, the Stephen Colbert show, as a campaigner, your strategy has to be, my job here is to put the libs' mind at ease. I want people to become at ease with me and comfortable with me, which is what Mamdani was wise enough to do in that answer. Bernie did the exact opposite. Bernie got more combative as he built momentum at the very end, and that's how he got sandbagged with that Fidel Castro bullshit question on 60 Minutes, and that's what broke his momentum. No, this guy, he has good instincts. That's the thing about Mamdani. His instincts are good. He has good political instincts. He has good chops. He's a good candidate.
And if you watch this whole thing, this is where you really see, look, take some comfort in this. It might not be soon enough. It might not be soon enough to avoid, digging around in the ruins of your local supermarket for non-irradiated cans of peas. But hey, if we last long enough, the times they are a-changing. Colbert's own audience booed Cuomo, and you can hear they're on Mamdani's side.
Right.
They keep cheering for him. Throughout this interview, they cheer for Mamdani. They boo with the mention of Cuomo's name. So Colbert is a dinosaur. He represents an aging and frankly dying off older boomer voter. And yes, we know not all boomers. You don't need to pile into our comment section explaining you're a boomer and you're not like that. We know. We've actually covered the reason boomers skew conservative is because the left ones died.
Right. The more radical
they didn't have
ones.
the money for the health care that they needed. That's why you have such a conservative population. But the fact is, that's who Colbert speaks to with these kinds of questions.
Right.
Violence in this city, in this country, in this world. And what I have found also from many New Yorkers is an ability to navigate disagreement. Because the conclusions I've come to, they are the conclusions of Israeli historians like Amos Goldberg. They are echoing the words of an Israeli Prime Minister, Ehud Olmert, who said just recently, what we are doing in Gaza is a war of devastation. It is cruel, it is indiscriminate, it is limitless, it is criminal killing of civilians. These are the conclusions I've come to.
Stephen, can I? Sure, please. I mean,
and by the way, man, that's Colbert's audience there.
Mr. Mamdani, how do you, I'm just curious, how do you think, you'd be the first Muslim mayor of New York, how do you think you could build a bridge of understanding between the significant Muslim population here in the city and the significant Jewish population here in the city? How do you think you could lower tension?
And again, not to belabor the point, this would never be asked of a Jewish Zionist candidate
disgusting.
For mayor.
What
never
a piece
in a million,
of shit.
Never in a million years.
What a piece of shit.
I think by foregrounding that humanity. And in many ways, that's the most New York City thing we can do. Because for so many of us who've grown up in this city, difference is something that we celebrate. It's something that we know is actually a part of the fabric of this place that we call home. And many years ago, I was the campaign manager of a Jewish candidate for state senate. And I took him to a mosque in Bay Ridge. And after he gave his speech at Friday prayers, an older Palestinian man came over to him and he looked at him and he said, "Cousins." And I think that there is this possibility of building a shared life in our city because ultimately that is the story of New York City.
Haven't they? Thank you so much for
He
being
handled
here.
that very, very, very well. Now, that's his first interview with Mamdani, obviously. Now, I haven't checked to see if this claim is true, but I believe it, that CBS deleted this entire episode. I believe that. So this is his first interview with Donald Trump. You'll notice a very, very different tone. And a lot of people were talking about Trump being anti-Semitic, obviously anti-brown people. They joke around about the wall. Listen.
Haven't they? Yeah. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Speaking of doing a fantastic job, you are setting the world on fire right now.
Well, we're having a lot of fun, and I think we're hitting some pretty good issues, Stephen. And
I want to thank you not only for being here, I want to thank you for running for president. Because I'm not going to say this stuff writes itself.
New Hampshire and Iowa, no matter where we go, it seems that the response, it just gets better and better. And the polls have been phenomenal.
You see Zogby?
Zogby was great.
33%. That came out today, right? Zogby, 33%. Incredible. I'm not surprised at all. I'll tell you why. Is because...
I'm liking him a lot.
No, I'm not. I'm liking you too.
Treating him very well.
You too.
Treating me very well.
I'm not surprised at all because, especially in the Republican field, because...
Have a country. We have to create, number one, we're going to build a wall. Number two, we're going to...
Okay.
Oh, listen to this, even with your crowd, I hear
No,
that.
they love
they love
the wall. No. People love the wall. Well, Donald Trump, thank you so much for being here.
Good luck.
Donald Trump is the leader for the Republican nomination. We'll be right back.
Tongue bath.
Tongue bath. Oh, yeah. Did you see Zogby? Oh, look how great. Oh, they love the wall. It's a little different. Little different. This is, hey, man, our commie friends will always point this out. They're absolutely right. Scratch a liberal, you get a fascist.
Yep.
The liberals will always side with the fascists. When the choice is between fascism and socialism, they will always side with the fascists. If that doesn't demonstrate that, I don't know what does. Look at the difference between the tongue bath he gave Donald Trump when he was winning the Republican primary and the way he treated Mamdani. Did you see him saying to Mamdani, wow, you're killing it. Have you seen the polls?
Wow, you're crushing
No.
it. You came out of nowhere. You're taking the city by storm. Yeah, you know, it's funny because they're such Nazis about the copyright. I don't even pay attention to Stephen Colbert because we can't cover him, and I find him incredibly uninteresting. So I never watch him. But that really is infuriating. I mean, what a piece of garbage. What an absolute piece of garbage. And the fact that he started out, you know, he was introduced to us during the Bush years doing a very clever sort of
satirical
version of O'Reilly. Yeah, exactly.
You would never have expected him to turn out like this because his comedy was so smart.
Yeah.
And this is so dumb. This is so dumb to just be this kind of a shill for the most bland, uninteresting establishment sensibilities. You just never would have expected that from him.
No,
he was the perfect counterpart to Stewart.
Yeah, exactly. To have this guy doing like a Borat version of the Bill O'Reilly show, just like an in-character O'Reilly spoof. And it was always a question of, okay, what is it going to be when he's not in character? What is it again? Because as the late night host,
we found out, sadly.
And we found out that it's worse than Jon Stewart. I mean, he makes Jon Stewart look like Andy Kaufman now. I mean, when Jon Stewart was doing that Lab Leak bit, he's trying to shut it down as much as he can. I mean, he's just
it makes Jon Stewart look like Asada Shakur.
Please clap.